Hello, good morning, guys. My name is Vladimir Ortega. I'm a pre and post sales engineer from EPCOM, and today's webinar is going to be the express training, talking about the basic configuration of Reyee networks, gateway switches, and access points. So let's give like some minutes to see if there is somebody else that is going to join. I see some attendees here. In the meantime, what we can do is just to follow these instructions in order to download the Reyee app from the App Store and the Google Play for your Android phone. It's really recommended because as soon as you download the application, you scan this QR code. You can access to some kind of demo project, even if you don't have the devices physically over there. So you can follow with me all the configurations and test all the features that we have for the brand. So I will give you like a couple of minutes. In the meantime, you can download the application. Let's wait for somebody else that is going to join. Thanks. Okay, I think that we can continue now. Okay, once you download the code, we can proceed. So the code is going to be at the end of the workshop as well for the people that is going to maybe going to join late today, so they have the opportunity to scan the code on the application. Remember the Reyee app application on Google Play and App Store. So today's agenda, we are going to divide this training into three parts. The part one is going to be the introduction. It is made of by the network infrastructure. We are going to go into the details about the project creation, and we're going to explain a little bit about the cloud services that we have from the brand, Reyee. The next part, the part number two, is going to be related to the devices. We're going to explore the features that allow us to access the network and to manage the network. It is made of the router, the switch, and the access point that I have here in something that we call backpack. It's some kind of suitcase with all these devices. But like I said before, you can explore these features on your virtual demo project that you uh, have the access to the QR code. And the part number three, it's going to be the key features. Basically, we're going to make a fast configuration on the captive portal, the app block flow control, some kind of content filter for the users. We always have the ability to share a project. So there are people that can manage remotely the projects through the Reyee cloud. Something that is revolutionary, that is the NAT transversal for our devices in order to access devices through the internet, via internet, and the report creation, that is something interesting and is a key feature of our brand. You're going to see that it's really easy, really fast to create reports on the fly. So let's start with the part number one. So I'm going to explain about the project creation. So let me just share my screen just to show you how you can do it. So I have here my iPad, and basically we have uh, three ways of, or basically two ways to create the project, right? It's just to go into the website, and the other is going to be through the application. So let me show you here. I think that you can see here my iPad. So it's going to be really, really easy and really simple, right? So I have here my backpack, my devices. It's made up of, let me just go back to the presentation. As you can see here, we have one easy gateway, that is our main router. We have our easy switch, and we have a couple of access points. One is on a wall access point, and the other one is a ceiling access point. So those are the devices that I have here for the lab. So for today, just going back to my iPad here, I have connected here my backpack to the internet, and as soon as it's connected and it has like an internet access, it's going to display or to broadcast an SSID that is most of the time it's called Reyee something. So in this case, it's going to be Reyee MFC90A. Those are the some letters of the MAC address or the physical address. So I'm going to connect right away to this SSID. Once I connected and I have internet access, I will enter or go into my Reyee app, and I'm going to click here on add a project. So as you can see here, it's asking me saying, hey, do you want to create a project based on the Wi-Fi connection, or you can, do you want to do it scanning a QR code? Uh, like I mentioned before, we can do it through the application, but there is another option that is going to the Reyee cloud, going to the website, and just create a project manually. And as soon as it's created and all the devices have like an internet access, you can scan a QR code that is printed on every devices in the back. So as soon as you scan this QR code, the access point is going to be uploaded, or the devices, the switches or the routers or the gateways are going to be uploaded and onboarded into this project. We're not going to do it in that way today. We're just going to do it, let's say, in the classic way that is connected to the Wi-Fi. We are already connected with my iPad here. So I'm going to click here and click on Start, right? So as you can see, it is detecting right away the devices that I have here. This is made by this something that we call the SON protocol, that is the self-organizing network protocol. It's a protocol that discovers all the devices in a network in a topology, and like you see before, it's really easy to do it, right? It didn't take more than, I don't know, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, or something like that. So we have here our topology, and we're going to click on Start Configuration, and we are going to create here a project that we're going to call, let's call it Express Training. I'm going to put here a password, simple and easy password just for demo purposes. And Reyee is made up, or it's based on project scenario. So depending on the scenario that we select, we can let's say, enable or disable some kind of features. If we were in an office, maybe if we select this scenario, maybe we have some, I don't know, IP cameras connected to a switch, so we can enable something that is called long distance transmission. That is the ability to connect a camera beyond 100 meters, let's say up to 250 meters. Um, and the image is going to be displayed, right? The transmission of the IP camera is going to be displayed on the end on an NVR, let's say, for example, and it's not going to be affected. But if I select something like a villa or home, that maybe that option is not going to be enabled because we don't need it in that kind of a scenario. So I will stick today to the office scenario. That is the most complete scenario. So we're going to click here next. We have the ability to connect single ISP or dual ISP because we do some kind of load balancing. There is a feature that we call it here multi-one. So our gateways do load balancing and failover. But for this purpose, for today's purpose, what we're going to do is just to use the 1.0 port. I only have like one internet connection here. So we're going to leave it as the HTTP option, and we can even, if we receive the internet connection with a VLAN, we can also untag the VLAN and just receive it here. But as you can see, we can select PPOE, DHCP, or static IP address. So we're going to click here on next. I'm currently in Colombia in South America, so the radio country or the radio code is set up to Colombia. So I have all the frequencies that are enabled for Colombia, talking about the standards and regulations. Uh, I'm not well, I will going to encrypt. Let's create some kind of encryption. I will set WPA2 pre-shared key, and I will put a simple password as well, just for demo purposes. Okay, I forgot to include here or to name the SSID that we're going to test. So let's call it just demo, like this. Or let's call it demo training. Okay, and we're going to click here on save. So it's going to deliver all the configuration to this topology. It's really easy, really simple. As you can see, it's first configuring the Wi-Fi. As soon the Wi-Fi is configured, it's going to configure the rest of the devices, and it's going to deliver the other network parameters to the devices. Something that in the past took us about or around 1 or 2 hours to be connected or to put everything up and running. Now with Reyee, it's really easy and really simple. It's like a fast deployment. So I have here the SSID that is called demo training. I will copy the password, and it's asking me to connect to the SSID. So it takes me back to the Wi-Fi management of my iPad, and as you can see here, I have here this demo training, the SSID I just created, and I will paste the password. And as you can see right now, we have internet access. So if we will go back to the Reyee application, it's expecting the topology as soon as we are connected to this SSID. And after that, it allowed us to do an speed test. Maybe you need to test the connection if you are some kind of server integrator or a company that is deploying the services to an end user, something like that. You can run a speed test from here. We're not going to run it this time. We're just going to click here on next. And there you go. We have the topology, we have the switches. As you can see here, we have, or this is divided in some kind of 3 tabs: basic, advanced, and scenario. It's showing us here that we are on site. We are connected to SSID physically here. We have options to perform a speed test, If we need to do some kind of factory reset because we need to decommission a project, it's really easy to do it here, just to be connected to SSID and just click on the factory reset. All the devices are going to be factory resetted, and you can move forward with another project or another installation. But we have tools here like or tabs or options talking about the Wi-Fi settings. We can add devices, reboot the devices, update the devices, monitor the devices, create the report that I just mentioned before. If we click here on advanced, we are going to have some kind of options for the wireless configurations, for the gateway and switching, for the network wide, talking about the whole network, and we can always change the scenario that we just selected before, right? We can change it to villa or maybe to a hotel. You can always go back and change the scenario. We have options related to the user management, the flow application control, the IP management of the devices, the NAT transversal, etc. At the upper side of the application, we have here a tab that says clients. As you can see here, we have connected my iPad here, and if we will click into network, we're going to check features or information regarding the user experience and the outbound rate trend. So basically, you can do everything from the application itself, but there are going to be more options if we go into the cloud, right? So let me just go back to the cloud and I will show you how easy it is to do it from here. So I will open my, what is it? Okay, 1 second. There you go. We have here the Reyee cloud. We're going to realize most of the configurations today through this to this website, and it's really simple to use it. I'm located here in Colombia, but let's say that you are living in US or you are living in another region. Well, it's really easy to go into that website. Is just to change here this part of the domain and just to go into the cloud US, the US cloud region. If you are living there, you're connected there, so all the devices are going to resolve the DNS queries to the local DNS server. So in this case, I'm living here in Latin America, so I will go back to LA. But that is the only option. We have like also European region, an Asian region. So depending on where you are in the world, you need to change or to access the correct option, right? The correct Reyee cloud. So I will go here and just put my credentials in here. So you can see that all the information that we have in our iPad, in our mobile application, is duplicated here on the Reyee cloud. Okay, there you go. Let's go into the Express Training. That is the project that we just created. And there you go. As you can see here, we have this first pane that shows you some kind of features and options that we can access right away. And we're going to, well, we just selected the project. And as you can see, we have the same topology that we just checked on the Reyee app. And we have this left side pane or panel that is divided into the network, AI networking, configuration, and monitoring. So as you can see here, we have the workspace. We can always check or view the topology or even add new devices in here. And it's going to show me how the port is or the devices are connected into the topology. Talking about the ports and some kind of physical topology. If we go back, we can also go into the devices, and we were going to have a list of the devices that we have connected into our backpack, right, into our project. We have the easy switch, one easy gateway, and a couple of access points. From this part, you can see information related about the management IP address, the egress IP address, the firmware version, really important. You can always do upgrades or run upgrades from this window. And another important information that we can find here on this tab is the status. If they are in green, they are connected into the internet. If they are in red, they are live. But something more important than this is the configuration status. So if you click here on sync, you're going to be that we have specific configurations that were delivered to this access point. So as soon as you reboot it, or you apply some configurations, or maybe you onboard new devices into the Reyee cloud, this needs to be populated in a green state. So let's say that don't be scared, but for some reason you connect another device, a new device into the project, and sync here appears in red. Don't worry, you just need to click here on sync. Maybe most of the configurations were delivered properly to the device, but let's say time zone was not delivered. You can also, or you can always manually deliver to a device, to the end device, but it is not always necessary. Most of the time, just refreshing the website, the configuration will be just applied right away, the final configuration to your devices. Like I said before, if we click here in upgrade, we can always select a firmware version from the Reyee cloud. Once you click here on start upgrade, even we can do downgrade, sorry. But let's say that we are going to, or we want to run just an upgrade, right? We can start the upgrade here. And then just to check how is the progress, we need to go here into logs and alarms, upgrade log, and in upgrade log, you're going to see the device here and what is the upgrade status. Really important, just to see if it is executing, if it is deploying, if it is rebooting, etc. Okay, going back to the clients, we have this tab that is clients. We have here all the clients that are connected via DHCP, even if they have like a static IP address. So at this time, I only have connected here my iPad, but it is divided into the smartphones, tablets, a smartwatch. As you can see here, I click just tablet, I have an iPad, so it's connected over there. Also, we can see the wireless devices, the wired devices, if there is some devices that is in some kind of block list. We can also check the Wi-Fi experience. Through the time, the Reyee Cloud is going to accumulate every single data about the access point, let's say statistics and performance, and it's going to display us here in some kind of something that we call the experience frame. It's a timeline or where you can see how the device is performing through the time connected to our let's say to our network infrastructure. We can also see the authentication clients, really useful when we deploy some kind of captive portals. We can see here the clients that are currently connected, how are they connected, and also the smart clients, that this feature is more related to the IP cameras, CCTV, MPRs, etc., IP phones, etc. Then we move into this part that is called, or that is named AI network. Nowadays, AI is involved in every field of the IT, let's say. AI is being part of our lives. So Reyee is putting too much effort in their research and development centers on the factory, just to involve AI let's say AI models or characteristics in every aspect of configuration and operation of our devices, right? So we have here is divided in configuration, optimization, and delivery. And as you can see here, we can create wire VLANs, we can create wireless VLANs, we can configure some kind of access control list. We can deploy or configure the management IP of the management IP address of the access point. We can also go straight for here. It's some kind of shortcut to go to the different options in order to perform specific configurations. Smart one is for configure the load balancing and the failover. We also have the optimization part. So we have protocols that I'm going to show you a little later. We have another features from the switcher, from the gateway, and we can also go straight and right away to the delivery reports, or just perform an entire network upgrade, talking about the firmware. Moving on, we have this other part of the AI, that is the AI-based diagnostics. This is for failure detections. So in the past, let's say that something failed on your network, maybe somebody create a loop or connected, I don't know, an IP camera or another thing, and maybe was not running well into the network. You need to call the technician, a highly and skilled technician, in order to get into physical, into your premises, in order to see what was happening. Let's say that a scenario where an IP camera was connected, a new access point was connected, and it's not running. If we click here and try now, what it's going to do is to perform like a diagnosis of the first, the one link, then it's going to run some tests talking about the wire infrastructure, the HCP, switch link, switching loop, IP address conflict. Let's say that maybe somebody connected, not on purpose, it was a mistake, but somebody connected a router, a home Wi-Fi router into your network. It's going to, you're going to have like a multiple DHCP servers over there. So this can be all diagnosed by our AI model, right? We have a part here talking about regarding the wireless. So basically, it's going to be able to detect like a poor roaming experience. Maybe there is like insufficient Wi-Fi coverage in some area. It's going to analyze the spectrum to see and check the interference. And we have here this AP help. If we have like an assessing client load, and if maybe the access points are frequently rebooting, or maybe they are not completely powered up because we have a bunch of PoE access points. So it's really important because, as you can see here, it offers us some kind of remediation, right? So we can ignore faults. There are some times that maybe a VLAN is not properly configured, so it's going to run or to solve that issue by itself. It's we don't have, or we're not going to put hands on the configuration. It's going to be resolved by the AI. So let's say for this specific characteristic, and this is like a new project because we just created, it says it's offering some suggestions like verify that the one link and network path are stable. Maybe it's detecting that the access point were not able to connect to the Reyee cloud because, I don't know, maybe there was some kind of internet bouncing ago. But it's able to detect all that option. In some case, in some scenarios, we're going to get some suggestions, and in others, it's going to resolve it by itself. So moving forward, we have the configuration tab. So here, if we click in network wide, we have some kind of a part about the network, how to configure the network, the multi-WAN, the VoIP IP, features like optimization for Wi-Fi, for loop prevention, for roaming, for client association, etc. We also have the security as well, network access control, ARP spoofing guard, if you are suffering from an ARP spoofing attack. As you can see here, we have this other tab that is the device config. All the devices of our devices can be configured directly or locally, getting into the web side, let's say the graphical user interface. Our Reyee devices, is really important to note this here, they don't have like console line interface. They don't have like a serial port connection in order to manage them. But I will show you later how you can manage the device locally or through the cloud. Even we have like some kind of web CLI in order to get some parameters and information, to fetch information from the device itself. But at this time, for this moment, if we go click or we go here into the device config, We're going to see that it's divided in general aspects of the network, NAT transversal, access control leaks, IP MAC binding, SNMP, CLI config tasks. We can automate this. But starting from then, we will find configurations that are particularly regarding to the gateway, the switch, the wireless, and the firewall. So everything that we are just that we did in the past or we've been doing from the last years just to configure an interface, a VLAN on a switch, creating an SSID, or creating a security policy in a firewall, it can be accomplished through this Reyee cloud. And as soon as we move forward into the auth and accounts, this is a special tab because from here, if we see or if we just see in the authentication, we have the captive portal. So we have the connection straight right away or the configuration straight away to get into the captive portal module, the alert list. We can create groups, we can create user, we can create voucher, we can create PPOE accounts, or we can even create pre-shared key, right? That we can just tie to different configurations as soon as we, let's say, traverse or go into this all this Reyee cloud. And the other part is the monitoring, really important. We have the network Hawkeye. This is something that is in a beta state, but it's really important because from here we can check the Wi-Fi health. So it's going to recover and get some statistics on a database. And we can see the Wi-Fi experience, talking about the time to connect, the successful connections, the roaming, the coverage, the throughput that is being delivered to the end users, the wireless load that we have in each channel, in each frequency, and also the channel health. It's going to scan the spectrum to see how good is the health on a specific channel that we are transmitting an SSID or broadcasting an SSID. Moving forward into the One Health, we're going to see if the one links, remember that we have the multi-one capability. So we're going to detect if we have some kind of failure, some bouncing, if we have several providers. We can also have this trend chart talking about the client summary, how many users are connected, etc. Right? The device load per link, etc. So we can surf here just to check the egress traffic. We can also have our console or query the application traffic statistic. It's not enabled, but we can have it, so we can see how much traffic consumption is being made by Facebook, by Twitter, by mobile and social applications, etc. The detailed entries, some kind of ARP tables, and the HCP user list, or the leasing, the routing table, even if we have IPv6 network deploying an infrastructure, and also the log history. So Network Hawkeye is the tool that allows us to have like a complete overview of some statistics and regarding the monitoring of the network that we just deployed. Here on DataBot, we can create network reports. I will show that to you later. We can have a report from the vouchers, the optical monitoring, if we have some kind of switches that have like an SFP or optical switches for fiber. And logs and alarm, like I showed you before, we just went into the upgrade log just to see how the upgrade process is performed by the Reyee Cloud and how you can console the devices that are being upgraded at certain point. But we can also check the configuration log of each devices. So it's just like a normal log that I think that most of the people have checked logs before, but it delivers us the operation type, the start time, the end time, etc. We can see also the operation log, how the networking is operated at this point, the execution log, if the devices were deleted, imported, or boarded, etc. We have like a complete model of upgrading. So let's say here that this will show us all the devices that we have here. At this point, as you can see, here my access point, the ceiling access point, the 2260G. There is like another new firmware version that is stable, so I can click here and just run an upgrade, and it will show me the new features or the issues that were resolved or corrected into this access point. I'm not going to do it right away because maybe I'm going to be disconnected and connected to our access point. But it's something that you can uh, run as well from the mobile application. And for the last, the delivery center, we have the smart detection in order to check all the devices that we have connected in the project, some kind of upgrade or update of the topology project. So we can see here from this part, we can go into the project report, or we can also do a project handover. We can hand over this project to another tenant, right? Or to another user. Um, it's important to say that all the features that we have here on the Reyee cloud, they can be queried or they can be consulted from the mobile application. It doesn't matter if it is from an iPhone or from an Android device. But if you want to, let's say, to get the most of the technical features and to get the latest advances and maybe, let's say, deep optimization, other features that are not going to be or that cannot be modified or configured from the mobile device is always be to or my recommendation is that you go always into the Reyee Cloud website in order to perform the configurations from here. If you are visiting a client abroad, if you are traveling, if you are, I don't know, let's say you are in some kind of travel, driving, in the road, just going to another town and another city. Okay, you can check some configuration from the mobile application. Most of the things that are available here in the Reyee Cloud, you can do it from there. You can reset a port, you can do a bounce in a port, you can shoot down a port, you can run a report, you can configure an SSID on the fly. But if you want to get the most advantages of all the features of Reyee and Reyee, it is recommended to always go into the Reyee cloud. So moving forward, uh, before we go into the part number 2, I would just want you to show you the devices that we have. So as you can see here in the top of it, we have the Reyee cloud that we just run like revisit here. We just visit, and like I mentioned before, we have the self-organized network protocol. We have like real reports based on the or based on the scenarios that we just configure, alarms, diagnostics, remote management. We also have a huge layer 3 chassis switch line. We have layer 2, layer 2 plus, gigabit switches. We have unmanaged switches, cloud managed switches. We have indoor access point. We have wall access point. We have a complete and a huge line of outdoor access point. Right now we have like 3 models of Wi-Fi 7 access point, and we have a line of industrial switches, wireless bridges, we're living like that is called Air Metro, up to 15 and 20 kilometers, just to create point-to-point connections. We have also our line of routers, the MBR, new business routers. They can manage our connections up to 2,000 users, talking about routing. And we have a complete line of home Wi-Fi access points and routers. So we have range extender, home Wi-Fi access points, etc. So getting to the second part, we're going to talk about the gateway, right? So we're going to get just like a brief description of the gateway, and we're going to navigate or surf to the ports and interfaces. We're going to create some kind of a static routing, PBR or policy-based router. We also have the ability to use the dynamic DNS, and we also have the ability or the feature to create VPNs in our routers. So going back into the web and to the graphic user interface, we're going to click here on devices. And this is our project, right? We have our project here and we have all the devices. Like I mentioned before, these devices cannot be managed through through a serial port because we don't have it, and they don't also have some kind of SSH or telnet in order to access to a console interface. But we do also have something that we call the web CLI. What is the web CLI? It's some kind of console line interface just to fetch, let's say, information directly from the device in a console. So let's say that I just want to see here the current mode, how the access point is working. We can also check here the current time. So there are some features that allow us to, at the time of troubleshooting, of getting to a troubleshooting session with the client, just to see what is happening in our network. After run the diagnostic, that is the recommended, is the first thing to do. We can go here into a web CLI and just consult the ARP table, the DNS configured or the routes. We can also do a ping from here. We can put here a, let's say, IP address on the internet server, just to perform a ping from here. So we can also check the memory of the device. So each device has different options here display. We can also check the background color. We can also clear the CLI, but it's just like a minimalist config line interface in order to get information and to retrieve operation and configuration information from our devices, right? But the most important part here is the eWeb that, as you can see, we can get locally into the device. There are two ways to do it. We can always just go here into the, just one second, into the device. One sec. Oh, okay, sorry. It's because I'm not connected to a network. I'm connected with the iPad. That's why I cannot access, because I'm in a different network. But that is the thing that I was going to explain with the eWeb. If you are connected to a network, let's say wire or wireless, to access the SSID that we just created, we can access the management IP directly, like in the old days, right? But what happened if we were traveling, we are abroad, we're in another country, we're in another city, or we're not in the location on premise? We can do this eWeb tunnel. What is an eWeb tunnel? It's a tunnel that can be created up from 1 hour up to 3 hours. I will put it just 1 hour for demo purposes. And it's going to create some kind of tunnel directly into the device through the internet. So it's going to do it through the Reyee cloud servers. So the connection is going to be made from your connection, from your internet connection, to the Reyee cloud services, and the Reyee cloud is going to contact directly the remote device wherever they are. So as you can see here, if we go here into gateway, this is the gateway that we have here. It's the EG105G-P-B2. It's a PoE gateway. And as you can see, this is the same interface that we will have if we connect to the device itself, right, via local. So as you can see here, we can configure the DHCP, how the internet we're going to receive it via DHCP, static or IP or PPOE. We can also specify here dedicated DNS servers, and let's click on save. We can also activate and enable the NAT mode. So it's activating the configuration. And as you can see here, in this part or in this tab, we have the dual line. This device has several ports. This gateway can change one of those ports or several ports in order to change this interface to from LAN to WAN. So you can have there like a several ISP connectors that in order to do some kind of load balancing. So if we go here into 1.1, well, it's the connection that I have here, but if we go here into the 1.1, we can also configure the interface, and then we can do some kind of load balancing. So it has like a couple of load balancing mode, the active secondary and the balance mode that is going to distribute the, let's say, the traditional model about load balancing, just to distribute one connection in a round robin base and another connection into the other one link, right? You can always specify here, let's say if we enable, we can also go into the configuration talking about how the policy is going to act based on connection and source IP addresses, or maybe on source and IP destination addresses, or just run the smart load balancing that is to assign the one and the one way rates or weights for the uplink and the downlink, and it's going to do this by itself. You don't need to mess with this up once it's configured, because it's going to be performed by itself. You don't need to do anything. It's running automatically. And if we go here into active and secondary, we also will we have also the same policies, but the thing is that we can select one of the interfaces as the primary one link and the other one as the secondary link, just to be used in case of failover, right? And also we have the line detection tab. It's enabled by default. It's constantly checking some kind of destination IP address. Let's say here it's configured to make a ping to Google or to resolve google.com. In this case, I don't have another connection. That is what it's saying that is offline. But in this case, we're just using the single line, right? We also have here the LAN settings. We can create VLANs, we can create subnets in here. In the traditional way, we can also enable the DHCP servers, but we are going to see later how we can create like a complete VLAN for this, let's say with their own DHCP server or subnet, etc. We can also check here the DHCP clients that we have connected. We're seeing the list of the devices that are connected to our infrastructure. We can also add here a static IP address and just bound it into a specific MAC address, assigning a name. It's not going to be the case today. Let's click here on cancel. And we have on the last the DHCP option. As you know, we can define a DNS server. We just did it, but we can also specify option 43, 138, 150, and even the gateway. Let's say most of these scenarios are being applied to both IP servers or another devices that receive through this option some kind of configuration parameters in order to be applied to the end devices. We have here the port settings, the port VLAN, etc. IPTV also, we can also disable and enable from the gateway, the LED light from the access point, etc. If we go here into monitor, and it's loading, okay, you can see here the topology, how it's going to be the traffic trend, or the traffic ranking by client. This is really important. It's some kind of let's say, timeline, the Ethernet status of each port, etc. So this router is working in a router mode, but we can use an access controller as well. And really important in here is just to check that the self-organizing network option is enabled. Remember that this protocol allows us to detect a new device that is going to be connected, and they are going to be onboarded into the project. So going back here, all the configuration that we just check locally in the devices, we can do it from here. As you can see here on the gateway, on the interfaces, we have just the 1.0, but remember that we can change the configuration of the port, right? Just to put it if it just I want to assign a 1.1 or a 1.2, etc. We can also create a VLANs in here. Let's say that I just want to add a VLAN. I will put it here, I don't know, 300. Let's call it test VLAN. And I will put here, I don't know, a network or a subnet that is going to be 192.168.30.1. And I will use a /29 subnet mask. And then I can enable the DHCP range, and it will start from 2, let's say, I don't know, to 100. The least time is going to be, I don't know, 0 days, but just let's say, no, sorry, 0 minutes, but let's say 24 hours. As soon as I click here on save, the VLAN was created, but there are 2 ways in Reyee to do it. One is per device. So let's say that like in the old days or in an old-fashioned way, you need to go and create the VLANs in your access point, in your switches, in your routers, and then perform the tag or the untagged traffic on the uplinks and the downlinks. That is the old model that we do it in the past. But at the end, I will explain how easy is to do it with the Reyee cloud and the application, just to propagate all those VLANs and perform like an automatic tagging of those VLANs in each device. So at this point, I'm just creating like this test VLAN here just for demo purposes. We just visit the interface. We just gave like a brief description of the device. Let's go into the routing of the gateway. So in this model, we can create static routing. So let's talk that I will need to go to the 10.10.0 network. You can create routes here. I don't know, let's say /29/24, sorry. And maybe we have another router in the topology, right? In the network infrastructure. So what we can do is just to create a static routing over there, and let's say that we go, I don't know, 168.1.10.1. That is our default gateway, right? It's the next hop. And maybe it is supposed that is connected on the VLAN 233. So I don't know, let's say that this is something, an example. So this configuration that used to be manual in the CLI, we can create it here in a graphical user interface. We can also create some kind of PBRs, that is a policy-based routing. What is a policy-based routing? Is a feature that allows us to route the traffic based on a specific criteria, right? So let's say that I just want to traffic the IP protocol, let's say everything related to HTTP or something like that. Let's say that I can put here, I don't know, that just that VLAN that we just created here. So let's put here 168.30.50. So what's the VLAN 300? And let's say that I don't know. Let's talk that I will create a policy-based routing just based on the source connection and the outgoing or the destination connection. Let's say if I want to consult, I don't know, the Google DNS server, right? So what is going to be the outgoing interface? It's going to be the one. So as you can see here, the protocol type is going to be everything that is related to IP. The source IP address is going to be custom because we just defined the subnet that we just created, and the destination IP is going to be custom as well. That we are going to classify the traffic from this VLAN in order to go to the destination VLAN that is going, to a destination that is going to be, in this case for us, just the Google DNS server. The outgoing interface is going to be the one. And let's say that we can create here a description for this PBR, right? Let's say just traffic to Google DNS server. We click on here on save, and there you go. We'll have the PBR. Another important side of this is that you can also create URL routing. So it's similar. We can use that VLAN for test purposes, or maybe a user group. Let's say an authentication group, or maybe a VPN group, somebody that is connected to our VPN server here on the gateway, or the users that are logging into a network. But let's say that we're going to use a VLAN, and the VLAN 300, correct? We can create a custom website. I don't know. Let's say that, I don't know, just for this purpose. We don't want to visit appcon.net, right? So this is going to be the URL. Call it appcon. I don't know. I don't want to allow the traffic to appcon. So we click here and just select the appcon website. Even we have some kind of categories, communications, game categories that are being daily updated by Reyee. But at this time, I'm going to select appcon. The Go interface where the traffic is going to route the internet is going to be our one. And I can select here the effective time. So let's say that I don't want the users to visit my website on weekends, etc. Right? So, or maybe the weekdays or all the time, we can select here, I don't know, weekends, and just the status. And we can assign here, I don't know, appcon denying or deny traffic, outgoing traffic, for example. So we can create it here as soon as we click save. Everybody that is being connected into this VLAN cannot access my website or a category that I just defined here, because the router is going to block that kind of traffic. It's some kind of traffic or firewalling process that is doing in the backend. I'm not going to save it. Another stuff that is really important to mention in here is the dynamic DNS server. Something that is, let's say, well, some kind of mandatory. Just 1 second. What is it? Okay. In order to access to a VPN, right? When you try to access to connect to a VPN, yes, you can have an IP addresses in your mind, but it's better if you have like a domain name server, right? That is the way that internet works. If you want to visit Google, you just go into you open another Chrome tab and you just type www.google.com, and that URL is going to be translated into a physical IP address, right, on the internet. But if you want to connect to a VPN here, we don't need to use those numbers anymore. So what we can do is just click here on enable, and let's say for my demo purposes, I'm going to put here appcon VPN. We have a couple of servers, the reyeedns.com and the reyeeddnsa.com. It's some kind of distinction just to identify if you are managing Reyee switches, that is our red line for enterprises devices, or if you are managing the Reyee line, that is our blue line for SMB and home Wi-Fi. For this case, I'm going just to use the Reyee DNS, and I can map that IP address, the public IP address, the IPv4 address. I can map or bind it to the one IP. Let's say if I have multiple ones, remember that we just configure the one and the 1.1 and the 1.2. We can configure, or we can have several IP addresses in our topology. But then let's say that I'm going just to map it to the public IP address, correct? As soon as I click save here, it says that domain name resolution is added automatically. It's going to take some time in order to be propagated on the DNS servers on the internet. But if we click copy here, and let's say that, 1 second. Here, we run a CMD and we perform an SS lookup, is just resolving me the IP address, the correct IP address, 180.155.70.184. This was just created in that time, right? We can use the Reyee DNS server. It's a completely free server for the user. It doesn't have any kind of license. If you are seeing all the training, we didn't need to specify or to put license to run these devices. They are completely free. The Reyee Cloud is free for the users. It doesn't have a limit or a specification on how many devices you can onboard on the cloud. But if we don't want to use the Reyee DNS server, we can also use the no IP server. This is something that is paid. Well, no IP is free. It's a service that is free, but DNS is something that we just need to pay. So that is everything regarding the DNS server, and we're going to move forward into the VPN configuration. So if we click here, we can do it here from the cloud. If we click here on Gateway VPN, we can create a VPN policy, and let's call it Express Training. Well, before we go into that, we need to explain that there are a couple of models regarding the VPN. The first one is the site-to-site, and the other one is the client-to-site. We're going to perform today client-to-site. It's the most common in these days. Starting from the pandemic, everybody was working remotely. Most of the people, they were assigned with a VPN account in order to connect to the company resources remotely. And our gateways have that capability. We can also create a site-to-site VPN that basically is to connect, let's say, the headquarters with a branch or a couple of branches. For that demonstration, we will need another gateway. I only just have one gateway today, but we are going just into the client-to-site VPN. That is the most common, right? Just to see how easy it is to deploy it and how easy it is to be connected to your home or to your company in order to print something remotely, to access some kind of network attached storage server, etc. So I will create here a client-to-site VPN. We have several VPNs mode: L2TP over IPsec, just L2TP, OpenVPN, and PPTP. That is the protocol that is the most easy to do it in Windows. I will choose today OpenVPN. And what I'm going to do is just to tie it up. Look how simple it is. I don't have to specify an IP address, right, of the one interface. I only, as soon as I created the Reyee DNS, it's really easy to tie it up. It's just asking me or just selecting EPCOM VPN, Reyee DNS 8.com, right? Where we're going to use the server model is going to act in an account and with a certificate, or you can also select account and certificate. We're not going to mess today with the certificate. We're just going only to run or to configure just with the account option. The protocol that is going to be used today for OpenVPN is in the traditional way is always UDP. Remember that the ports that needs to be open or to access is the 1194. That is the standard. And I will set here the IP pool, correct? Just give me a second to do the demonstration. And the server subnet, which server subnet we are going to access, right? As soon as we create the OpenVPN server from our side, we need to specify the subnets that are going to be accessible by the end users when they connect to the OpenVPN. So what we're going to do is just to click here on VLAN number 1. That is our VLAN 223. That is something the standard from Reyee. That is the 192.168.110, that one. We're not going to enable flow control. All the traffic, that is something that we can enable or disable. If we leave it here on node, if it is disabled, as soon as we are connected to the VPN, the thing is that the traffic that you need to query in the remote location is be routed through the VPN, but the other traffic, let's say the internet traffic, is going to be routed through your internet connection. So I will I will click here just in no, I will never just left this disabled. And the port ID, like I mentioned before, is 1194. That is a standard. We're not going to use any kind of TLS or the authentication or data compression. And I will leave the cipher of this VPN in auto, but we can select AIS, different protocols and encryption, 128, 192 to 56, or we can use this as well. But I leave it in auto. I will click here on add. It is creating the server. And as soon as it's created, now we need to create some VPN accounts. So this takes us to the next model. And what we're going to do is to create an account that is, we just call it, I don't know, test. And we're going to put a really simple password just for them purposes. Okay, so it's created. And once the configuration is being made in the site, we need to go locally into the gateway. Remember that we can access the gateway if we are on premises in a local way, but we can also do or create an e-web tunnel in order to access it remotely. And if we go here on VPN and open VPN, you are going to see that everything was configured, right? The server is an account, we're using UDP, the server IP address, I don't remember if I leave it like that, but let's just change it here, page.com. The port is going to be 1194. This is the IP range that is going to be assigned to a tunnel, and this is the delivery route that we needed, right? To be inserted into the network configuration. We're using authentication, and we just click save, and we're going to export. So as soon as we click here into export, I think that I need to do it once. Okay, we're going to have a compressed folder. In this compressed folder, we're going to see here these certificates and configuration files. So let me just show you here. 1 second, stroke O in here. Okay, there you go. And if we open here the configuration file, as you can see here, okay, it's just putting there the DNS that we created, the DNS where we need to point and the protocol. So what we need to do is just to copy these files as soon as the open VPN client is installed. That I remember, I forgot just to say it. I 100% recommend to download this client, the open VPN client from here, from the download link. You have flavor for Windows, for Mac, and for Android. As soon as you download it and you install it, a folder is going to be created here in users, your username, OpenVPN, config, and there are some files in here. So I will just, well, I did a test before. I will just replace it. Okay. Just checking that we're using the new files and the certificate is on it. And just one sec, because I will have to show my screen. Let me just change it here. I think that now you can see all these. Let me just check the other, share the other screen, monitor one. Okay, I think that you are seeing it there. We have here the OpenVPN client. As you see here, it's asking me for the credential that we just assigned. Remember that we just created something called test. The password was really simple, just for demo purposes. Okay. And it's connected. Now we're connected And as you can see here, we have been assigned one of the IP address of the gateway from the tunnel, the 10.80.12.2. So basically, what we did here was just to create the OpenVPN configuration. Really simple with OpenVPN, with IPsec. We can also connect to gateways, and they are going to work even with IPsec or PPTP or OpenVPN. And what we're going to do now, just give me a second just to see if we can um, check something. There you go. I have an IP camera connected to my setup. I just connected an IP camera from Epcom. It's an Epcom IP camera. It's a bullet IP camera. And my camera is connected into a network infrastructure, and I'm now connected to that network infrastructure through the VPN. Remember that my computer, when I'm presenting this, is connected to another network, a different network. I'm just connected to the internet. And if we try to access something from the subnet that we just included in the VPN configuration, that we allow the users to go into the VPN configuration, we can reach it really simple. So I will go here into the 192.168.110.5. That is my camera. As you can see here, I'm just accessing to the camera through the VPN. So there you go. That is the camera. I'm working remotely, living in Colombia, so I'm seeing there what is the camera recording or broadcasting at this point. So as you can see, it's really simple to get into devices or other things, or even databases or ERP systems that you can have located into one internal server in your network. It doesn't matter if you're traveling, if you are traveling to Europe, if you are on vacations on the Caribbean, with this simple process. And once the configuration or the OpenVPN client that we just installed is installed in your computer with the correct files, you can always reach your remote your remote servers, your remote branch, your remote headquarters, etc. The behavior is really similar with IPsec and with LTP2, and even with PPTP. It's really simple with PPTP. It's simpler than OpenVPN, because PPTP is integrated into the Windows operating system. So it's really nice. Going back to the presentation, if we click here on online users, we should see my user connected into the VPN. And as you can see, yeah, I'm being assigned that IP address that we just checked. We can also, let's say here, delete this connection if we just wanted to remove it manually, and the user is test. So let me just 1 second in here. Just to move it here, we just finished with the VPN, and this is all for the gateway part. So allow me, let's take let me see if I can put here this. Okay, let's take like a 10 minutes break in order to continue with the switches, the wireless part, and the last part, that is the key features of the brand. Thanks. Okay, guys, welcome back after our 10-minute time break. We can continue with the other part that is the, just give me 1 second. We just seen the gateway, all the features that we have, and we can continue with the switches part. Talking about the switches, we're going to talk about a brief description. We're going to go into the port and interfaces, a feature that we call the long distance transmission, VLAN creation, RLB, and DHCP snooping. So going back to the configuration, okay, to the Reyee Cloud, we see here that we have our Easy Switch 205 DCP. It's a tiny switch. It's a metal case. Pretty convenient for small deployments. We also have like plastic case switches. We factories those ones, but most of our switches are made of metal case, and they are pretty convenient for these small deployments because they come starting from 4, 5 ports. They are power over Ethernet capable. They are managed on the cloud, and the price is really competitive. So in order to see what are the features that we have, we can also log in into the eWeb. Let me show you the eWeb of the switch, of this tiny switch. It's tiny and powerful switch, by the way. So it is creating another tunnel. In this case, it's going to be for the easy smart switch. We will need here to put our password project in order to log in into the switch. And there we go. We have some, it's a friendly user interface. We have more information here. It is cloud connected. We have the model, the firmware version, every port, like I said before, this is a five port switch. The port number 5 is our uplink. It's delivering PoE power to some devices, to our access points that are connected in there. We have tabs like the system settings, where you can check the device info, the IP settings. You can reboot, you can do some upgrades manually. The monitoring, you can see port statistic counters. You can even run cable diagnostic. If something is failing, let's say a camera that is connected really far away, we can run a cable diagnostic on that specific port. We can do also port mirroring. We can do port isolation as well, just to isolate the traffic between these ports. We can also have DHCP snooping, VLAN, QoS as well. We can even change the PoE settings, etc. This is the local way. It's like we are, like if we entering into the 192.168.110.2, but it's doing it through this traversal tunnel, basically. So it's connecting to the Reyee cloud, and the Reyee cloud is connected directly into the switch management through the internet. Remember that this is pretty convenient if you're traveling, if you need to provide remote support to the end client. We're going to do the configurations like we've been doing for the last minutes, the last time, through the cloud. And if we go here into the switch, the first tab that we face is the interface tab. So as you can see here, the interface tab, if we click here, port number 1, it is enabled. Provide us a specification about the duplex configuration, the speed. We can also put an alias, I don't know, AP1. If they are PoE capable, we can shut down that characteristic or just disable that characteristic. And we click here save just to see how easy it is to do it. We can also select several ports to do like a poll configuration. This is really important. Another thing that is important is to mention the mode of the switch. This switch comes by default in a mode that we call unmanaged mode. They have like a basically two modes: the manage and the manage mode. What is the management? It's like the typical layer 2 switch that you don't specify their VLANs. It's just doing the switching capabilities on the traffic on the network infrastructure. But if we go here into the VLAN, that is the second tab, we can select here the mode, the VLAN mode. So we are going to put here the VLAN mode, manage. We're going to click here on OK. And if we go back into the interface tab, you're going to see that the ports, they appear another kind of option that didn't appear before, right? So basically, if we have like a fiber optic switch, we're going to see something here on the port media. But once we enable the manage mode for the switch itself, we can select here if we want to put the type or the port in an access port, in a trunk port, or in an hybrid port. So this is related or regarding the VLAN theory. For this purpose, these are access ports, but remember that the number 5 is the link port, so the number 5 is going to be some kind of hybrid or trunk port in order to connect or to tag or to transmit the tag and non-tag VLANs. So yeah, it's really simple. Let's say that I would put here, I don't know, the VLAN 300 for the other port. That is, remember that we just need to select one. We can select several ports in order to run or to, yes, to perform bulk configuration. But for this time, just specifically to the port 2, we're going to assign the VLAN 300 in an access way, right? So if we click on save, it says that the VLAN access, it doesn't exist, but we just created. So just 1 second. I know we didn't create it. Sorry, we just changed it. So remember that I told you that there were like 2 months to create the VLANs. The first one, it was in the old-fashioned way to create the VLAN just per device. So you, in order to create like a full setup of a networking, you will need to tag the VLAN on the uplinks and downlinks and create the VLANs manually in the switches. We are stick to that scenario this time, and little later I will explain how to do it in an automatic way through all your devices in your network. So I will create here the VLAN 300, and I will put a test, and I will click here save. So that is the VLAN 300. It is created. Now we can go back to the interface, and just now we can select the port number 2 and assign the VLAN 300. We can assign several VLANs if we select trunk, but in this case, I'm going just to put there an access. Let's say that I'm going to connect there and VoIP phone, right? And the VoIP VLAN is going to be the 300. Okay, we can do it there. Just click save it. So now the interface configuration really succeeds. So as you can see here, we can bounce the ports. We can even check the status of the port if it is enabled. It's something that we can also see from here, from the device itself. Let me just click in here. And we have an overview of the configurations, the VLAN assignment, the switch interface VLAN, as well the packet statistics, the interface rate, also the PoE list for the devices. We have the total available power, the budget, how much of that PoE or power over internet budget is being used, and which ports are being used, the detailed entries of the devices that are connected in each port with their respective MAC address, and some kind of log history, right? To see if the switch was offline, online, if it restarted, the configuration. You can see here that we apply some VLAN config on the port, on the device ports. We updated the VLAN mode, we put it into a managed mode, etc. Something that is really important here is to talk about the long distance transmission mode. So in order to go in there, we're going just to change the we're going to go from this tab monitoring to configuration. And as you see here, we're seeing the same results or the same visualization or displaying of what we were seeing here in interface VLAN, etc. So here, if we select the port number 2, we have also the VLAN 300 that we just configured a moment ago. We also have the VLAN that we just configured. And let's take a look on the long distance transmission. At the beginning of this training, I mentioned that these devices have this mode. What this mode is been about? Well, basically, it's like if you have connected cameras, PoE cameras, IP cameras, the standard said that you cannot run it more than 100 or beyond 100 meters away, right? Because of the standard and the specification. But if you want to run a cable up to 250 meters, you can do it with our switches. Basically, what it's going to do is to sacrifice some percentage of the throughput in order to deliver the image of that camera. Maybe the throughput is going to be reduced from, I don't know, 100 megs or gigabit port just to 10 megs, but those 10 megs are going to be enough to display a high resolution video or image from a camera that was deployed 250 meters away from the switch. So that is really important and it's really convenient, and it's going to save us cost because we don't need to add extra switches in the deployments, and we don't need to put a PoE injector over there or a power injector over there or power adapter in order to power up the camera. So basically, you just select the port, let's say number 2, just click on save, and it's going to enter into a small long distance transmission. So anything that you connect there, the throughput is not going to be the best, but you're going to have a connection really, really far, far away. Another thing that we are going to treat in this in the side and the switch part is the loop prevention. We have something that we call it RLDP, that is rigid loop detection protocol. It is based on the STPs and open standard specification. So it is default, it's enabled by default in all our switches. And what it does is basically just to prevent to form a loop. There are some days or sometimes where somebody connects like a couple of switches, right? Connects a couple of switches, and not with just one port. Let's say that there is a uplink between two switches and somebody connect another cable between those two switches and creates a loop. It's not like they're going to act in some kind of aggregation or bonding port or something like that. It's going to automatically create a loop. So what we're going to do here is just to perform some kind of quick demonstration in order so you can see that if I create a loop, that another case is that maybe there are a bunch of cable on something that we used to call it an spaghetti rack. It's a disorganized rack, and there are a bunch of cables, and there are some of them disconnected, and then you connect those cables to the switch. What the technician or the person didn't know before is that cable comes from the same switch. So you can create a loop really easy connecting two ports of the same switch, and it's going to bring the whole network down. We don't want that, right? We just want to be our network running smoothly and available 24/7, and our switches have this loop prevention feature that is going to help us in that way. So for that, I'm going to open here my iPad, and I'm going to select the camera. Let me check if you're seeing there. Okay, this is my backpack. This was the IP camera that I was working before with the OpenVPN tunnel, the EPCOM camera. And as you can see here, this is my tiny little switch. It's from Nettle. So I have here like a tiny Ethernet cable, a patch cord. And what I'm going to do is just to put it in here. And the network is going to continually work in an operation 100%. It wasn't bring just bring down. And as you can see here, you are still listening to me. I'm transmitting in here. And as you can see here, we have this tiny light flashing. That indicates that the loop is being formed on the port number 3. So if we see here, if we go back to our Reyee cloud and we check here, let's take a look into minor. There is a switch loop in here. So there was an alarm. These alarms can be configured, some of them to be sent right away to an email that you can specify over there, an email address. In this case, we haven't go there into the alarms module, but you can configure them by as well. And it's saying this alarm severity is minor. Well, it's something that is not minor. It's something that we worry about. Why it classifies as a minor? It's minor because we have enabled the LDP or the loop prevention of all our switches. Is by default. It says when was it generated and the action that we can take here. It says a loop occurs on interface port number 3. What is the suggestion? Well, just to disconnect. So as soon as we disconnected, let me just take a look here. Disconnected the port. No, let's just reconnect it just to show you how the port is being shown in the project. Just 1 second. Let's go here into project, training, devices. Let's take a look on the switch. Okay. All the ports are connected, and this is the port. I don't know if you see it there, but there is some kind of tiny logo over there that is indicating that the loop is in there. And this is the port that is forming the loop. So it puts another kind of graphic of image to the port just to identify that we are forming a loop in there. Okay. So now what we're going to do is just to disconnect it. Okay, it is disconnected. And we can continue with the course. Well, nothing was ringing down. Everything is working as expected. As you seen, everything is up and running. All the devices are seen. And we can also clear out all our notifications in the message center. Okay. And another feature, if we go back into the switch that we're going to discuss today, here in configuration, as you can see, the ports are disconnected right now. It is the DHCP snooping. Really important because there is an attack that is called DHCP spoofing attack. Basically, what this DHCP does is to somebody can connect another server, a rogue server, a DHCP server on the network, and as soon as you, as the server listen a request from a DHCP, a dynamic IP address, I don't know, just to be assigned to a networking printer, a network printer, or maybe a computer, a cell phone, a laptop, etc., is going to deliver that information, right? The gateway, the DNS server, and after that, basically all the queries and all the routing traffic is going to be redirected or redirected to that DHCP server that is a false DHCP server. That is the DHCP spoofing attack. We don't want that for sure because we have our gateway that is more than capable to route all the connection. But apart or aside from that, it's a matter of security. So what we can do is just to enable the DHCP snooping config, just to trust certain ports in order to allow that kind of traffic. What kind of traffic? The DHCP traffic. In this case, we have the port number 5, that is our uplink that is directly connected to our gateway. Our gateway is acting as a DHCP server from the beginning, from the project configuration and creation. So the only authorized DHCP server in our network is our EC gateway, and where it's connected into the port number 5. That's why the port number 5 is trusted. But there are certain, let's say, configurations or topology or scenarios where the DHCP server doesn't reside in the gateway or doesn't reside in the router. Maybe it resides in a Windows server or a Linux server, etc. The DHCP server is an external DHCP server. So if it is connected into another port and another uplink, what we can do is just to select the port and just click here on save. So it's going to trust that port to transmit and allow DHCP server, or sorry, DHCP traffic into our network. So what is going to happen if somebody connects a false DHCP server because he's trying to perform an attack, steal our information, and the port number 3 or 4, those DHCP messages are not going to be transmitted in our network because we don't trust those ports. We don't trust the port number 3 and port number 4. In this case, if I deselect the port number 2 and I just trust the port number 5, we are going to be more than protected. If I connect another router, another home Wi-Fi, another DHCP into one of the rest of the port, the one up to the, well, let's say the port number 1, 2, 3, and 4, we're going to be protected because the DHCP messages are going to be blocked as soon as the switch receiver is going to be able to identify those kinds of messages. They are going to be stopped there. So they configure their communication to the legit DHCP server is going to be reliable. It's going to be allowed by the switch because we are configuring in that way. So as you can see, it's really easy to configure these switches. We also have the PoE watchdog in case of it works in intervals of seconds to see if there is an alarm, something like that, talking about the PoE delivery, the long transmissions, the VLAN. We changed the mode to manage. We created a VLAN. At this time, we had created the VLAN in the gateway and the switch. I will show you how this VLAN can be created in the access point. We can move forward with the wireless part of the presentation. So just 1 second. This is our line of switches. Remember that I mentioned that we have the chassis layer 3 switches, the layer 2 plus switches. Those are all metal case. We have, like I mentioned, chassis switches. You can buy line cards, you can customize switches, you can do a static aggregation with them. We have these Tau climbing switch managed switches, the EC100, the EC200, pretty reliable, pretty convenient, and a cheapest price. Really, they are really competitive with the market. And we also have our unmanaged switches that are the series RGS-ES0. Those are plastic. They can be onboarded into the cloud, so you can see that the switch is really on or really off. If it's powered on or powered off, you cannot do anything more than that, but at least we provide that capability and the feature just to see if the switch is up or is down. Okay, and the last, well, it's not the last part, it's the last part of the part 2. Let's say we're going to discuss the access points. And for this, we're going to go back again to our 3D cloud. And as you can see, you see before, we have a couple of access points. We have the RAP wall access point and the ceiling access point RAP 2260. They are really nice because they were in 2.4, they were in 5 gigahertz. We have a new access point working in Wi-Fi 7, but as the same as the other devices, we have some kind of overview just to see how the connection, the radio list, the user list. We have the log history, the wireless experience as well, just to see the coverage, the roaming, the capacity and interference, the throughput that is being managed by the switch. And we have some real-time statistics as well. We can do some kind of configurations from here, talking about the RF power, if we need to change something in the sensitivity, the power, the channels, the frequency. We can also disable the LEDs, etc. And we can also create VLANs in here just to tag the VLANs. So we're going to do it in the automatic way this time. So if we go here, something that we're going to demonstrate today, or just to mention, is the wireless optimization. We just call it WIO, wireless intelligent optimization. It comes in two flavors, basically, the quick optimization and the deep optimization. Uh, it takes some time, like I said before, like it is been said here, the estimated optimization time is going to be something around 2000 seconds, and it's because it's going to scan all the spectrum, and it's going to adjust or to change some parameters on the access point in order to optimize the connection. With the latest firmware and the latest cloud, it's going to perform this optimization in 2.4 gigahertz, in 5 gigahertz, even in 6 gigahertz. And it's going to also adjust parameters talking about the roaming sensitivity and the transmission power. This is talking about the de-optimization. The quick optimization is faster, a tiny faster. We're not going to run it this time because it's going to take at least 10 minutes in order to do it. We're going to lose the connection. But that is something that is worth to mention because the spectrum is changing constantly. So let's say that you live in some kind of condo or maybe apartments or some building, and there are people just adding and adding more access point into that, physically into that building. You will need to constantly change those parameters in order to get a better Wi-Fi experience. So we have another feature, or another option about the wireless intelligent optimization, that is just to schedule this optimization. It's really convenient because maybe you don't want to run this optimization in production. Let's say there are people just, how I say, working during business hours, but maybe you can schedule this just to run on Sundays at, I don't know, 3 a.m. weekly, or just one time. And you can decide if it's going to run on a quick optimization mode or a deep optimization mode. As you save here, it's going to run every Sunday at 3 a.m. There is not going to be any impact on the user experience because most of the time Sunday at 3 a.m. on a building or an office, nobody's going to be connected. But as soon as you return to work really late in the Monday morning, the Wi-Fi network is going to be optimized, so you can get the most of the wireless networking on your deployment. So basically, we have those options talking about the wireless optimization. We also have the Wi-Fi roaming, the AI roaming. Our access points perform roaming based on layer 2 and layer 3 capabilities. Layer 2 is enabled by default, but let's say that maybe you have like a huge network with several VLANs, and you need to traverse from the first floor to the seventh floor. And maybe if you have like a bunch of users there, you're going to have a 1 VLAN per floor. So the roaming can be enabled so the device can roam between these floors, change the IP address at a layer 3 let's say level, and just continue the communication smoothly. You're not going to detect any loss in the communication. So this is being performed based on the A02.11 KB roaming standard. It's enabled by default. If you enable here the area roaming, there are going to be some benefits because it's going to accumulate and to save data and statistics about the devices that roam between these floors, between these open spaces. And at certain point, it's going to adjust the power transmissions and everything related to RF elements in the access point in order to provide like a better roaming experience. I will click it here I will disable it just for now. We have the roaming dashboard, so you can see the trends, how the device is roaming between floors and or spaces under spaces. And we have the layer 2 and layer 3 roaming tab. Layer 2 is enabled by default, but we can also enable layer 2 roaming and just apply it to this project, right? Uh, you need to specify, or you need to make first the design of how the VLANs are going to interact between or inside the network infrastructure. But once this is deployed, you can enable layer 2 roaming, and it's going to perform this feature by itself. We also have the mesh for the devices. We can mesh devices really simple. Most of our access point and gateways, they do have some kind of button. So let's say that I enabled here the mesh on my project. So if there is like if I bring a new access point, or let's say a home Wi-Fi or another gateway that comes with a wireless gateway that comes with this button, I just click that button. It's going to join automatically the network. You can also scan the new devices in order to add them to your existing network. We're going to go straight away into the SSID just to see how easy it is to create an SSID. And as you can see here, I will create, let's say, a test SSID. This SSID is going to be the new one. I will use an encryption. I don't know, let's use another password. And there is a difference in here because we can specify a VLAN. Let's say that I want to use the VLAN 300 that we just created for test purposes, or we can put that SSID on the same VLAN as the AP exists, right, on the gateway. But for this purpose, I'm going just to put it on the VLAN 300. So it's really easy because we can create the SSID tied to a VLAN, and then after that, we will need to tag that VLAN in the uplinks that connect the entire network. That is the hard way to do it, the way that we've been doing since the beginning. I will create it in here. So if we click here and edit, just to check, this is tied to the VLAN 300. Remember that we created a subnet before when we were checking the gateway, and the VLAN 300 is in place. So what we're going to do is just to explain or just move forward into the automatic VLAN creation. For that purpose, what we're going to do is go to smart and network-wise, go into network, and we have like a couple of VLANs that we can create here. Since this is a new project, it's asking me for this. But as you can see, we can create VoIP VLANs, wire VLANs, and wireless VLANs. I'm going to create a wireless VLAN, right? So I will call this wireless VLAN, let's say captive guest, because later I will create like a captive portal, right? So I will not encrypt this network. I will propagate this network of broadcasting 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, and there is not going to be any kind of encryption, right? So we click next here. I will call it yes. I will say that is the VLAN 200, and you are seeing that it's really easy how it's detecting based on the parameters and the best practices in order to perform or to create or to propagate this VLAN in the entire network. So by default gateway is going to be 192.168.200.1. We can change the network mask. I will leave it /20, and I will enable a DHCP pool that's going to start on IP number 2, and it will end on IP 254, right? So as we click next, it's going to identify, and this is the magic of Reyee, that we don't need to do anything like in the old days that we were doing, because we were just about to tag all the VLANs and the traffic and the uplifts and all that stuff like in the old days. But that is not needed anymore. It's going to select all the devices that we have here. So it's going to tag the traffic from the VLAN 200, and it's going to create the SSID automatically. So as soon as I click apply here, it's not going to take more than seconds in order to deliver all the configuration, the tagging ports, the trunks ports, propagate the VLAN to the switch, then propagate the VLAN to the access point. It's really, 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 really simple, right? So what is asking me here, if there are no access point, or if I plan to connect more access point, to put those access point in that same VLAN in the 200, I can go click here into plan and just select the ports, and it's going to prepare those ports in advance. As soon as I bring more access point, I can connect it there, and they are going to receive that kind of information, the VLAN traffic, the VLAN tagging, etc. So I click here on OK, and now we go. If we check on the, let me just check on the iPad, 1 second. We just call it captive guest, and as you can see here, there we go, captive guest. So if I connect there, I'm going to receive IP address from that VLAN 200, that segment. And as you can see, it's really, really, really simple just to create traffic. We can create even wire VLANs. They are not going to be associated to any, let's say, access point or SSIDs. So VLAN wire, I will put here just for the demo purposes. And I will put here 500. Let's see that, let's leave it, I don't know, 111 is going to be my segment. I'm going to activate the HCP pool. And as you can see, we can select here the switch. And after here, we can select the switch where the VLAN is going to be propagated, correct? So if I select here the switch, I can select the ports, and it's going to tag all the configuration. I don't need to go each port by port, just tagging that kind of configuration just to make the port hybrid, trunk, or do it on an access port, correct? I'm not going to create it here. I will click here, just have a try, just for demo purposes. But I just want to mention that you can create wired VLANs, wireless VLAN, even a VoIP VLAN for this purpose. So the last part, talking about the wireless, is going to be the radio. And as you can see here, and we just check, we can change the channel, we can change enable the DFS if we were near to an airport that have some radar, so the radar signal is going to affect our broadcasting of SSID. We can also client limit the SSID just to specify the numbers of clients that can be connected, and the offline threshold. If the offline reaches more than minus 70, minus 85, minus 19, the configuration is going, sorry, the signal is going to be poor. So we can kick out that device from the SSID, correct? And also, if we go to Radio Planet, we will have more information talking about the roaming sensitivity, the association threshold. We can change the channel as well, etc. And another thing that we can do is the rate limit. We can create rate limits per SSID, per user, etc. So let's say that if I have a user connected here to my network, I just simple click it and just apply, and we can create a profile just to assign some kind of rate limit, talking about the speed that the end device is going to receive. We can create some wireless limit, let's say for, I don't know, this test SSID, we can just change it, or it's going to be per user. Let's say that I will put here, I don't know, the people that is going to connect it there, it's going to be 10 megabits for upload, and maybe 10 megabits for upload. So everybody that is connected here, we can assign it per user or share by all users. So that allows us to just assign 10 megabits of download on upload speed just to that SSID. We can also do it by access point. We can just specify that each access point is going to have, I don't know, 1 gig if it has the port and download rate limit as 1 gig, just per access point. And we can also do it per packet. We can restrict broadcast packets on the network, and we can also restrict multicast packets. So we can save some kind of bandwidth, wireless bandwidth on the access point. We're not going to configure this right now. And that is all for the wireless part. And that takes us to the part number 3, that is going to be the key features of the brand. This is the last part, and we're going to discuss the captive portal. We're going to do some kind of demonstration, the application blocking and flow control, how to share a project, and the NAT transversal. So, okay, going back, we just created an SSID for the guest users. We are going for the demonstration that we will need to do in the captive portal, right? We created here is open. If I connect my cell phone there, I'm going to have the full speed and I'm going to have the full access. In order to create the captive portal, what we're going to do is to get into here into auth and accounts, then into authentication captive portal. Remember that all these configurations can be achieved through the mobile application. So if I click here on add captive portal, I will create something like guest captive, just for demo purposes, right? The policy mode, we can have another device that controls this captive portal, an inner device, an external device as well. But today, we're going to use just the cloud authentication. All the portal is going to be managed by the Reyee cloud. The authentication device in this case is not the access point. We don't have a new business router. We have a Reyee gateway. And the network that I'm going to use for this is going to be the guest, the network that we created at the beginning. This is the IP addresses that are going to be assigned to the persons or to the devices that are going to connect to the captive portal, right? We leave this here enabled. Seamless online is going to be connected automatically. The seamless online periods will be 1 day. So this means that after the next day, you just need to reconnect to the captive portal. This is something that I can customize. I can put it 1 week, 1 month, or always. It doesn't void. And after that, we will need to create a page. It's really simple to do it these days because in the past, we will need to know or to have some knowledge about HTTP and all that stuff. Coding skills, we don't need it anymore. What we're going to do is just to use a template. We're going to call it captive portal. And we have several login options. We can do just 1-click login. There is going to be a button in there. Just click. As soon as the click is going to be registered, the access is going to be granted. We can specify the amount of time that we want the user to be connected to this captive portal of the SSID in order to access the internet. We can use 15, 30, 60 minutes, or you can use custom, etc. We can use vouchers. I'm going to explain that a little bit later, how to create vouchers and to, let's say, distribute these vouchers against the users, across the users. We can use accounts. We can create static accounts in order to distribute against users, employees, etc. We can use MSS as well. We use a third-party service in order to receive the authentication code via its cell phone, and then put that code in the portal authentication. The captive portal is going to validate the authenticity of the user, something that has an extra charge because we use like a third-party software for this. And a third-party service. And we have also the registration. Registration is something where you need to put your email address, your username, some kind of data that is going to be stored on the Reyee cloud and can be used later with merchandise and advertisement purposes or statistic purposes. Today we're going to use the voucher. We're going to, as soon as the person is going to be connected, we're going to redirect it to our website, epcom.net. I can select the background image that I want. I can change the logo position. Even I can change the logo. I can select a solid color, etc. I can put here like a welcome text message, a marketing message, terms and conditions. I can change the default language. We can put it not only in English, and we have several languages available in order to be displayed into the captive portal. We can also do advertisement. I can upload a picture just to show the picture first, so the person can see that advertisement, some kind of publicity, or we can use some kind of video as well. We can upload a video here and just to reproduce the video before the person is going to be granted, right? Granted to the internet access. Just be sure that the video doesn't weigh more than 10 megs, and only MP4 and MKV file types are supported, right? We're not going to use any kind of advertisement today. We can change the color, the text size, the button text color, the welcome text color, etc. So you can preview how it's going to be displayed on a desktop and even on a mobile device, right? So if I click here on OK, it is creating the configuration for me. Okay, and the last step is just to select the captive portal, right? Click OK, and there we go. We have the captive portal top just in place, up and running. And what we need to do is just to create some vouchers, because we mentioned that we need to create some vouchers in order to perform this, right? So I will create here, we can create accounts really easy. Just put the username, the password, just type to another user group. We can allow VPN connections. Remember the client to site connection that we did before. But what we're going to do is just to create a user group that we're going to call a captive group. It's the first step, is to create the captive group. I'm not going to put any price. I can define here how many devices I can connect for that specific user. I will leave it, I don't know, 2. The period is going to be unlimited. It doesn't have like a restriction limit. The quota, maybe I can say, okay, you can just surf the web, or just your traffic consumption is going to be up to 1 gigabit. 1 gigabyte. After 1 gig, the traffic is going to be denied. And I can put here, let's say our download rate, I don't know, this user is going to use 10 megabits for, let's say 5 megabits for upload and just 10 megabits. So we can save some kind of bandwidth in our one connection, right? We can also bind these to the SSID or the network. In this case, it's going to be the 200, but we're not going to enable right now. Let's just test it in this way. Okay, and then we're going to create a vouchers. We can specify how many vouchers do we want. This is been doing, or it's been done by automatically by the Reyee Cloud. So we're going to type these 10 vouchers to the captive group. We're going to bind this. We can also assign some kind of user information, first name, last name, email if you want it, and how the voucher is going to be created. If you want like an alphanumeric voucher, an alphabetic voucher, a numeric voucher, etc., and how it's going to be, the length is going to be for each voucher. So in this case, I will leave it with the default options. We click it here in OK, and it's going to create 10 vouchers for me. Now we are going to test it. As you can see here on my iPad, yes, just 1 second. I think that we see here. We're going to connect to the captive guest. It says that it's in secure network. It's redirecting me to a captive portal, and I will use, I don't know, the first voucher that we have here. That's why I leave the 2 screens. sharing. So I will put here 6, G as in golf, D as in delta, T as in tango, A as in alpha, P as in papa, and I will click login. As soon as I click login, it redirects me automatically to the EPCON website. I am connected. If we check here, well, it takes some time, but it was right away. It says that the status is in use. And if we go back and we realize some kind of a speed test, just 1 second. We can run some speed tests from here just to test the rate limiting, right? Well, in this case, it's not working. Just 1 second. Let me check if we were connected to the, okay, we are using the VLAN 200. Let's just check the configuration of the group. And yes, we have a maximum download rate 5 megahertz, maximum download rate 10 megabits, okay. Just 1 second. Let's just change it to the VLAN 200 just to see if we can get the feature up and running. Well, seems that for some reason, I will disconnect and reconnect again. Let's try to forget this network. Get. Okay, and let's use another voucher. Okay. Give me captive gas. Seems that I'm using, it is using, the iPad is using the same voucher. Think that I will need to restart the iPad. Yes, it's not working at this moment. I will need to check what is happening. But we tested before in several scenarios, and basically what it does is just to rate limit the connection on the SSID itself, right? So that's it. It's basically how you can set up a captive portal, all the configurations that we have here, the how to create, even you can customize the page if you want to mess up with the HTML code. You can do this from the mobile application as well. And we can move forward to the app and flow control. That is something that you can find here on NetworkWire, flow and app control. And basically some kind of content filter for this. Smart control was enabled in here. So if we click edit, it's saying that my uplink and downlink from the one connection is 1 gig. I will leave it in that way. And then what we can do is just to select the application that we just want to restrict the traffic. So what we can do is just to select, well, I'm here on the VLAN 200 because I'm connected to a captive portal. So, or let's just use the VLAN 200 and 200 and 233. That is the original VLAN that we were using before. You can use also user groups. You can customize by user group. You can select users, authentications groups, etc. Right? Or VPN group. So I will use just the two VLANs, the guest and the other one, and I can select an application. Basically, let's let me just delete this website. We can select websites as well just to deny the traffic. But what we're going to do is just to deny the Facebook traffic, right? Let's say TikTok as well. And I don't know, Disney Plus. Well, seems like Disney is not here. What about Instagram? So, okay, there you go. So we're just denying the traffic for these three application. We can create a custom group application, we can customize it, or we can customize a selected website. The effective time is going to be all time, but remember that we can select just to be displayed this rule effective just on weekend. Maybe the employees are going to be allowed, I don't know, in an office just to access these, let's say, these applications just on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, or maybe just to access this application on weekdays from Mondays to Friday. But I will leave it just all time. We're going to enable and we're going to create here like a media block, let's say. Okay, it was addedly succeeded, and the policy alias is, we call it media block. It's going to cover these two subnets, and we're blocking Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. So if we go back to the iPad, let's just check. We are still on the captive guest. Let me just move to the other one, the demo training. Okay, let's check that we're receiving an IP address from the subnet 192.168.110.7. It's being covered by this range. And if we go to TikTok, there it says that is no internet connection. If I go to, I don't know, HBO Max, okay, I can download a new application. It's contacting, it's showing me the movies. This application is allowed, but if I go into Facebook, okay, I don't have an account for Facebook, but let's say that if I click here, forgot password, it says error connection failed. I cannot access. Facebook. If I go to Instagram, let's say here, create new account. It's doing nothing. Well, it's asking me for some kind of authentication. Let's say here, sign up. Maybe here, create new account and log in with Facebook. Safari can open the page because it couldn't connect to the server, so it is working at this point. We can also customize this using a website as well. We can put a website like we put it here at the beginning, but remember that the websites are being maintained and all the applications and category are being maintained daily by the Research and Development Center from Reyee. So if we select one of these applications, let's say Steam or maybe reading, I don't know, news, if we block Waze or Windy, it's going to be blocked. So it's not going to work at all. So it's really simple to do it. We can even create this configuration and customization from the mobile app. So you can restrict the traffic to certain websites, or you can even control the outgoing traffic to certain applications as well, right? The other thing is just to share the projects moving forward. And it's really simple because if we go here into home and we have a list of full projects and scenarios, we can click here on action and we can select if we wanted just to deliver the project or share the project in a read and a write way, or just read only for read only purposes. Somebody that needs to query some information but doesn't need to be granted to modify some behaviors and conditions, right, and parameters. And you need to specify the validity. It could last for 1 day, for 1 week, for 1 year, or just custom. You can select a custom date and just click on OK. As soon as you click on OK, I just need to copy this link and just send it to the person. The person should put this link or open this in a Chrome browser, or it doesn't matter if it's Chrome, Firefox, or a web browser, and then log in with their credential. Then the project is going to be received in that tenant, and that person can control the project remotely. They are going to be here. Click on reserve, as you can see here from my account. And for you, it's going to be on share, because if I share the project, it's going to be here on share. That can be done as well, or can be achieved or accomplished by the mobile application. It's really easy. If we go here to Reyee, just 1 second. And if I click here back and the 3 dots, sorry, here on, we need to go into a project, and then you need to click here on this arrow, and then you can share the project. As soon as you share it, you can transmit this, copy the link via WeChat, generating a QR code via WhatsApp, email, etc. So you can share this link and this text to another mobile application, to another user, and it can open as well via the mobile application. And another thing that is really useful is another key feature that sells really well on the brand is just the NAT transversal tunnel. As we can see here on device config, general NAT transversal. What is a NAT transversal? NAT transversal basically allows you or allows an external network to access an internal network. If you are traveling to another country, or if you are not located on premise and you need to access to MBR, network attached storage, web server, network printer, or maybe a network printer server, you can access it through the internet. It's really simple to do it. You don't need like a public IP address in order to do this. That is the old model, the old days. We are going to take leverage of the Reyee and Reyee Cloud. So it's really simple to do it. What we're going to do is just to create a tunnel. And let's say that I have a, I don't know, photo servers or image servers. I have an image server. I don't know, I have like a photo store, and I have an image server, and I need to query that server in order to fetch or retrieve photographs or images from there, right? Because I'm not located on premise. And maybe the connection to that server is an RDP, is using Windows Remote Desktop Protocol, and let's say that the server is the 110.100. And as soon as I click here on RDP or HTTP, it changes the port automatically. So let's say that I will need to connect to the RDP and the port is 3389, but I can always change it, right? I can put the customized port if I want. So I click here on OK. And then what it's going to do as soon as I click here on enable is to create a tunnel through the internet. Basically, it's a transversal tunnel. It's going to connect the Reyee Cloud directly to the gateway, and the gateway is going to create a static route or path to that internal server. So as you can see here, the tunnel has been created, and the IP address is a public IP address different from what I have here, and it's a high port, right? It says that it's going to expire about 3 hours or something like that. So if I click here on to configure, it's going to open that connection. Well, we are using 3389, so it's going to, I will need to open here RDP here in Windows, the Remote Desktop Protocol, to use it. But let's say that is a, I don't know, let's change it here just for demo purposes. That is an HTTP, because we have a web server in our home, on our store. So we can create it, and it's going to create another tunnel with another port. And if I click here on open, we can easily access that web server that is located remotely in that store. We are traveling, we're in another country, we're in another city. We are not on premise, we're driving. So it's not going to open. I don't have any web server connected here to my network infrastructure. But as you can see here, basically you can share these numbers, this IP address with the TCP port. Basically, it's a high port and random port. It's an ephemeral port indeed. And as soon as you share this and you open into a website, you can access your HTTP web server that you can have behind your gateway on the internet, behind your router in the internet. So it's pretty convenient if you have an MBR and you're just traveling and you need to check the cameras or who is at your store or your location. You can create a static path or to that MBR that is behind your infrastructure, right? Your network infrastructure. You don't need like a public IP address that is being taken in charge by the Reyee cloud, and it's pretty convenient. It's free. You don't need to do anything else. So as you can see here, we have the IP public IP address with a high port, and the inside port host is going to be the static or the dynamic IP address of the device that you need to access remotely, and the custom port that you assign it to that device in order to be accessed. So that's all. We can see here the device of the tunnels that we have created at this point for the Reyee gateway. And well, that was the last part, the key features of the brand. And thank you very much for your assistance today. I will leave here the QR code for a couple of minutes if you haven't scanned it in the first place when we started the webinar, the training. My name is Vladimir Ortega. I'm a pre and post sales engineer for EPCOM. I will leave there my email address. Remember that at EPCOM we have like a fully qualified team of engineers that are more than willing to help you out in designing a project, in finding the proper and right solution for your needs. It doesn't matter if it's a networking, a surveillance system, an alarm control, etc. We can integrate all our products and solutions just to offer you the best shot that you can have talking about IT. So thank you very much for the assistance today. Have a nice day. Bye. Take care.